and they do all kind of crazy stuff to them. And because they're meth heads, when they get back down here, they look crazy to us. So when they tell us the stories of things happen to them, we don't believe it. That kind of got a chuckle out of me. That's just like me trying to remember that joke. It was unrememberable though, and that's the problem with his stand up shtick. It's unrememberable. You can't remember it. Now, Kenny, I gave you the spark notes of some of the jokes he stole. What did you have?
I'll be honest, I did not get a chance to really look over it and everything. What I would speak to is just who Joe Rogan is. He has a following because he is one of those people that can say brash things. And then in reality, he is also a capable fighter. And then on top of that, he is a wealthy person. So you mix all those things together, that is who Joe Rogan is. Because a lot of the times, what I think of him, he has the ability to do all these things, make a podcast, be part of UFC, um, do stand up comedy. He is none of those things to a full T. He is just a person of who he is. And I always remember where he came from, Fear Factor. He was the host of Fear
Yeah,
Factor,
I remember that.
and that's generally he was kind of like, interestingly enough, a media personality but with no real substance, but he has transformed and made himself into who he is. I do always think it's kind of weird because I've seen bits and pieces and like clips of his stand-up comedy. I've never had any real value or interest in it, and it wouldn't surprise me that if he did come along and do another show on Netflix where it gets good money, that he would still or repurpose, recycle somebody else's jokes. I do also know he's one of those people that will teeter on the line of, this is free speech, so I can say these things. And if I break it down the way I would see it, is like, no, these are kind of racist comments. But because of who he is, the position that he holds, everything that surrounds him, he can get away with doing that. Because also, the thing that I did take some notes on, me quickly reviewing it, he took a lot of Bill Burr stuff. If anybody knows who
Yeah,
Bill Burr is, he's a white
yeah. Bill
comedian.
Burr is pretty damn funny. Although
But
I watched his last, he is funny, but I watched his last show on Netflix,
mhm.
and I didn't think it was good.
See, I think Bill Burr is funny. I
Did
think
you
Bill
watch
Burr is funny.
his last Netflix special?
Yeah, and I consider it funny. The reason I think Bill Burr is funny is because I do believe when Bill Burr is making his commentary on his life, things that he encountered, he understands that I'm a white dude, but he has, and this doesn't make it anything better, but he is actually married to a black woman, and but he'll say the things that he knows that white people think in their minds that they don't say. That's why Bill Burr is funny to me, because
Well,
he's
never hold up.
actually seeing.
It wasn't Bill Burr that I watched that I didn't like. It was a different comedian. It was actually a female comedian. I was watching a whole bunch of when I watched this Joe Rogan, I had to wash it out of my mouth with a whole bunch of other Netflix specials. So I spent about 5 hours watching Netflix specials because the Joe Rogan was about an hour. So then I watched Bill Burr, and then I watched the guy who does Big Mouth. But Bill Burr actually had a joke that I really enjoyed that I kind of want to bring up real fast that was funny. When Joe Rogan talked about how his wife hurt his feelings when she gets mad at him and asks him, where's it when his anger, when he gets upset, she asks him where his anger comes from. He said, it makes me, it hurts my feelings because it's like, I don't think my wife listens to me. And he'll tell his wife all these stories. It's like terrible
Mhm.
things that happen to him. And then when he's losing his mind over traffic or some bullshit, his wife is asking, where's his attitude coming from? He's like, I feel like you don't pay attention to me. He was pretty funny.
Yeah,
Again, Joe Rogan, he really wasn't. I mean, he had some good points. He tried to defend the use of the N word. Now, I see no use if you're white or you're Asian or you're not biracial, you can't be using the N word. Just stop. There's no context for it, right? I actually had a
I agree.
conversation with this Asian chick on YouTube. So remember when the trad wives used the N word? Everybody else was like, cutting their head off for it because it's like there's no context for it. But there was this Asian chick trying to claim that there was context. Her first response was, "But what's the context?" And I was like, look, you hack, you know talent having hack. If I got on my show and started saying anything about Asian people, you'd be the first person to come at my neck. Yet when black people are getting treaded on, you guys, I think it's called white virtue signaling. So they're virtue signaling to their white supporters that they're okay with shitting on black people to get more support. And that's what I've noticed. And so when Joe Rogan used the N word and when he talks crazy to me, a lot of times I take it as white virtue signaling to his white
Okay, I wouldn't put it past it.
YouTubers that he's you can watch him and enjoy like on his show he's gonna shit on black people. He ain't gonna create any context for it, but it's for your entertainment, even if those are not his views.
Yeah,
So that's why I took
yeah.
out
I
conflict with
100% agree.
him. Go ahead,
Well,
continue. I'm sorry.
and now one of the things too that, and this is what I have been witness to, and it there's a weird way that I see this. The way the younger generation is un see, I hate because there's a part of me that is old and traditional, but there's a part of me that is progressive and understanding. But there's things that I see them like, I get it, but huh. So what I'm trying to say is with Joe Rogan and the use of the N word, Joe Rogan is somewhat of an internet personality too. I mean, even outside of his television shows, the fighting and all that stuff, he
Mm-hmm.
is an internet personality. Podcast is a very much an internet thing. What I'm beginning to learn as of late is on the internet, a lot of the younger generation, they don't care about these things because they also take it as no, they can say it if they're not doing anything with it. There's a part of me that understand there's somewhat of a value in that because yeah, if nobody cares anymore, then nobody cares anymore. But my old school ways, the people that were before me that had to deal with it in a negative way, I still have a mind that's still set on that. That no, you couldn't. I mean, recipes to my grandmothers and everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't say this word around them because that is offensive to them. Yes, truly, they don't exist anymore. They're not here anymore. But when I see and watch different clips and different stuff, the way the younger generation is, they don't care if it is a full blown white person saying the N word because they're going to say it too. And just as much as there was that transition of saying it with not the hard ER, but the GA at the end as in a term of endearment, they still don't care now even about that. And they'll let anybody say it. He plays into this. He plays into the thing that I can do a stand up and I'm going to do the old people stuff is, yeah, I know it's a bad word, but why can't I say the word? The only thing I ever had with it is like, why do you want? What is the value? Is it just that cool to you that you just need to do it?
I mean,
That's the thing that I always see.
I think you just hit on something there. To them, we have to realize that so much of what it is about being black has this element of coolness to it. Also has this element of rejection of the status quo, right?
Yeah. Like
For
I
the
would say
most
this:
part, no matter
being
what,
black.
go
Hold
ahead.
on. I want to say this. This is a comparison. I always thought about it. Being black, just natural being born and being black is basically the equivalent of a white kid deciding to go punk or goth. To me, that's what it is.
Oh, you know what I think it is?
What's up?
It's when you like everybody is obsessed with the Black Panther. The Panther comes in, it's mostly usually in this orange, speckled representation. But the one they sought after, they seek, is the Black Panther, right? Because the Black Panther is just cooler. And so in a society full of regular basic people, and then you have this one cat that's born who's different color, has a different swagger to them. They reject the status quo. They fight for themselves. They have this strong sense of being. They have a strong sense of identity. I mean, it's the black identity that scared the FBI during the Black Lives Movement, right? Their whole obsession was, well, if black people are attached to their black identity, then in their minds they're rejecting what America is. But America is black. with white people in it. They live in our world. We don't live in their world. Because the reality is, I want you to
I
think
don't know
about.
about that, but all right.
No, stop. Okay, think about it. Think about it. Right. The fundamental truth of America is that its history is clearly crafted and defined by blackness. That's just the fact. America's true identity has been completely and utterly defined by the black experience, the conflict of the
Explain.
Constitution, the conflict of slavery, a civil war. All that was based through the black perspective and the black experience. Without that, there's no civil rights movement. There's no suffrage movement. All these things are attached to the black identity. People might not like it, but it's true. Even the fact that it says all men treated equal, that line is in conflict with blackness. So when you think about the fundamental conflicts of America, they are two things. They're Native Americans and black. It's just reality of it.
But I see what you're saying, and I understand the points that you're making. That majority of the thing of the United States of America has always been in conflict of who is who and who is not, and the who is them that made these rules that everybody is abiding by for the most part. But that is also the part of they never thought the what is are they regular people? Are they normal people? Well, they didn't come over here. They didn't steal this land from these people. They
I don't
didn't
even
write the
think.
rules of this
I
land.
don't even think
That's
that's
the
the
problem
real.
that I have with kind of
I can see that. But I think the main when I say America, the conflict is that America is fundamentally shaped by blackness. The way that the country is crafted up, the way it votes, the issues, economic policies, all this are all influenced by blackness more than it is whiteness. Now, when you have it's how am I wrong? Economically, how is America structured? Economic incentives in this country are crafted by the incentivization of disenfranchising and exploiting black and brown lives. If America was mostly a white country, they wouldn't have been able to shape the country like it is. Look at how cities are built. Look how uh, uh, manufacturing and industrialization is all shaped. Those are all shaped to affect certain types of people. And those people live around there. If you go to an urban area, you're going to find industrial companies. You're going to find warehouses. America is literally shaped by how it disenfranchised a group of people. Economic policy. We're talking about redlining. So now we have a state of segregation. What's our biggest problem? Black and brown people don't own as many houses as white people do. And due to the fact they don't own as many houses as white people do, we have to create new legislation to make it more equal. All these things are the conflicts that keeps America from progressing forward as quickly as it can, because we have so many problems fundamentally with the country. You said what?
But I agree with you on that. But the problem is the people that make these things, laws, rules, and everything. It's not majority of black and brown people that's in there that's doing that. It's unfortunately.
No, what are you talking about? What's my whole point? If you're in a system that's fundamentally shaped by blackness, and you as a white person do everything you can to ignore that, you continuously break the system because you're not crafting your, like I said, it's a beautiful equation. You're not crafting your legislation in a proper way with the emphasis on that the foundation of your country is fundamentally being uh, casted aside and segregated. And so you create legislation that continues to expedite that and grow it out to the point where we have these economic problems that we have today. You see what I'm saying, right?
What I'm saying is there's certain people at the core of it that are not like the people that are at the bottom of it, and those people are not going to easily give up, change, or make any significant progress because it doesn't overall benefit their concept of what America is.
Well, of
That's
course. Well, I never said that's not. I never said that that was not the reality. My only point was is there is that conflict.
it's always
And
going to
when
be
we go
conflict.
back to what we were talking about before,
Anything that
where
exists is always going to be in a conflict, in my opinion. If you
only
exist,
if
you're
you
going to be
don't
in conflict.
acknowledge the only if you don't acknowledge the equation for which you're written inside of.
But that is still going to be the conflict.
No, it's
Acknowledging
not.
something is the conflict.
If you acknowledge, Kenny, if you acknowledge the equation for which you're written inside of, and you write your equation in a line with that, you're not going to have conflict. Conflict only happens when two people don't have the same they don't have the same set of ideals and values. And
Correct.
so when you don't, that's
And
where you have your
when
conflict.
you have,
But we're going back.
so
Let's
no
bring it
matter what,
back.
if you have two people in a room, there can always be potential conflict.
Good. Let's bring it back to where we were at before when we were talking about why blackness is so cool and why they think they should use the N word. I have one question though.
So,
Maybe, and at what point will we be to a point where the N word just would be a cool word that white people use and black people use all the time? Because you bring up something interesting when you were talking about young people who don't care, who don't have that relationship with that word. And there are a lot of things in society that has transitioned. Some of them were transitioned from meaningful to meaningless, and some things have, transitioned from meaningless to meaningful. So with the F word, the epithet for gays went from
mhm,
being a bundle of wood that meant nothing, it was, irrelevant, to being an
mhm,
epithet to try to hurt and break and isolate and subjugate a group of people. The the truth is also true of words where they had this strong meaning and they went from the ER to a less meaningful GA to a not meaningful word at all. And what happens at when do you see or foresee that happening? Because
as long as
maybe that's where we're at now, and we're Gen X's and old millennials are elevating that word still when it doesn't actually have that meaning anymore. Maybe
well, for
it's
me,
transition and we don't know it.
no, it has transitioned, and out the whole thing with I don't want to stick on the N word too long, but the whole thing with the N word is I'm from Georgia. I'm from the South. There is a very distinction that I'm aware of between saying the GA and the ER. The thing that tripped me the fuck out was the first time I was in California and I heard a bunch of Latino people, Mexican people that use it freely. I was like, why y'all? Oh no, just like the environment. I'm like, out here, y'all multicultural as fuck. There's everybody. Look, Asian, Polynesian, Indian,
You know what's
Filipino,
interesting? I want to say
Mexican.
something about that real quick. So
What's
in
up?
California, what encompasses blackness is way more spectral than what the reality would be from like anywhere in the United States. So that's
Okay.
one thing I noticed too, because Mexicans will identify as Mexican,
Mm-hmm.
but speak and talk and move as a black person.
Yes.
And they're in that environment of blackness. They may never identify as
What
black, but
hold on. That's the funniest thing. I see what you're saying, but the environment, California is not a black state to me. It's not a black
no,
environment. It's
no,
very
no,
much a
no. I'm not
Latino.
saying that's a black state. No one's saying it's a black state. But what you did bring up is something that's interesting to think about because this is the truth in California. In California, non-whiteness is actually speckled together. And so with
Yeah.
I would say the black culture being the biggest part of that spectrum of non-whiteness. And
To me, it's more
in that's
Latino to me.
you said what?
It's more Latino to me.
There's not more the culture in California. I'm not talking about
Yes.
what other
The
than food. Hold on, other than food, Kenny, name something from the Latin culture
other than food, name
in
something. The
California.
car
Other
culture.
than
The car
food,
culture. The car
Name
culture.
Latin culture that is visible to you in California.
Car culture in California is very
Car
much
culture
Latin.
is not just that. You can go to Ohio and have car culture. It has nothing to do with California or Mexicans.
Low riders, the way you paint your
We
vehicle,
ain't say low
all that stuff.
riders.
That is
You're
not.
pretending. So you have okay. So you name two. I can
Um.
name I can name 100 things in California that is literally shaped by blackness.
All right. So if I name two, then give me two that you think is shaped by blackness in California.
Okay, we got every chicken spot that's in California. There's mom and pop chicken spots. Then we
Who runs
have
those?
then we
Who
have
runs those? They're run by Asians.
we're not talking about that. We're
No,
talking about
some of the,
culture. We're talking about not every taco shop is
you
ran
on top
by
of that. You said food.
Kenny.
So
Not every
name.
so
This is
all
what
right,
I'm
never forget it
asking.
then, man. No, because you're saying who runs it. What are you talking about? Because that would be who's running the
All
car
the
shows. It ain't a
Awkward
Latin
fried chicken,
dude. It
crispy
could be a
fried chicken off the
Filipino
El
dude.
Cajon. Wait, say it again.
I can say those a lot of those low rider shows are ran by Filipino dudes. So what are you
Yeah.
talking about?
So what is your thing that you're saying about the black culture
What
thing?
I
Because
just
there's
said was
none.
listen to what I say. Listen to the
Oh,
words. I know it's going to be harder for you to follow because it's a very big idea. It's true. But the spectral effect of blackness in California and not whiteness kind of all fall in on themselves. And they intermingle with their culture in a much more plastic, with much more plasticity. So you'll hear Filipinos using the N word. You'll hear Latin people using the N words. You'll hear certain language that Latins use be used with blacks. You'll hear certain things that Filipinos say that's going to be intermixed with blackness. And if you come here from a different place, you're going
mhm.
to be shocked the first time you're having conversation with these non-white groups that really intermingle themselves and really co they trade in their culture more with one another and it's more
Mhm.
accepted. And so you'll
Well,
hear that. Like you say, you hear Latin do you say the N word, you'll hear saying black guys say certain Latin words. I don't really go in slang, so I don't know a lot of it, but it's true. And so if you're a person that comes from a different state, you're a Latin, you come here, you're gonna hear, black people talking a certain way, and you're gonna be like, yo, y'all ain't Mexican. Just like you said, they ain't black. Why they using the N word and it's so calm with it and so natural? California is weird, but then California could also be what's happening with the transitioning of the N word. I mean, I don't want to stay here forever, but it's actually an interesting conversation because we can literally be in the moment where the N word really probably has no meaning, and we're still keeping it alive. Are we the problem? But
no.
also, though, no, I don't think we are. I mean, this is just a question. I'm not saying it's true, but then there is that element where racism is still mad alive in America, not so much in California, and so the N word can't truly transition with
Correct.
racism being what it is because it's still used against us to decapitate us or try to intimidate us or subjugate us to a second class experience. So
Yeah.
I think we have it's very interesting. We have this conflict with the N word where with one generation is transitioning and then the generation that knows what it means and the racist people is keeping it from transitioning to nothing. Maybe that's true with every word though. Every
Yeah.
negative word is only alive because the racist component to it still exists. So
The
even with
derogatory component to it. That's what I would say.
you said the
Because
what?
um I said the derogatory component to it because
Yeah.
there's people in different sects of life that use certain words within their group, like from the F word to
Mm-hmm.
the S word, and well,
Mm-hmm.
the F word for the gay slur, and the S word for a gay slur for a gay man. But I've heard people that are in those cultures say those words to each other as a term of endearment or as in jest. So I get that, but then if somebody that's not part of that group says that word, it's a bad thing. It's a horrible thing, and that's the where
I
I
know
stand.
what
And I'm
the
like,
F
no,
word, what S word? What's
sissy,
the S? Who?
a sissy boy.
Oh, I completely see. I don't even talk. Dude, I don't even see that's how disconnected I don't even know that word. Like I know the word, but I'm not associated with so much that I associated with gay men. Because honestly, I never met one. Because gay men that I've known will beat most straight dudes' asses. So you would never call them that. You know what I'm saying? Because like I
That's
had
what I'm
this
saying. In
conversation
their
with
communities,
yeah, I had this conversation with my uh my brother-in-law, right? On my girl's side. And we were in the car driving, and he said something about like, I wish a gay dude would say that to me. And I looked him right in his face. I said, man, I'll tell you right now, I served with the Marines. I served with gay men who would body you, like hurt you badly, beat your asses, and tell you about it. I said, so I hope you don't think just because you straight that you got an edge on somebody. I said, you really should think about what you're saying and words you use. Because I know gay men who will
yeah,
sleep you. They will put you to sleep. I
that's
know
true.
gay men who will
That's
kill
true.
you. So you need to calm down, man. I don't know why you got this idea that you got it
Remember
over
the story of
somebody
Jeffrey
else.
Dahmer? Shit,
For real,
Jeffrey
like.
Dahmer. So either way,
With that
all
said, let's
right.
go to our next subject. That's good conversation. So we got Ray Gunn.
Yep.
This woman is awesome, bro. So she went to the Olympics for breakdancing, and it was fucking ridiculous. I oh fuck, man. I'm just gonna play a clip. I don't know. I'll explain what it is after you see it.
I know what it is.
'Cause I know you know what it is.
Here it comes. There it is. It's up in the air.
Oh, and our favorite here. Yo, so this is how they describe what she was doing. I all right, so this is how they described her performance at the Olympics. Going into the games, breaking had a lot of riding on his shoulders, but no one counted on Ray Gunn, the newly infamous 36-year-old last place Australian beat girl, as breakers are called, whose performances on Paris stage included bizarre floor writhing, awkward freezes, and original moves like kangaroo jumps. Oh my
Yep.
fucking god. And the thing is, she overshadowed. Like, no one is checking for any of these other really good breakdancers because the only conversation out there is Ray Gunn.
True.
You
So I actually went back and watched the breakdance part of the Olympics because I was curious on how they're going to do it. How do you actually score it and all those things?
Mhm.
Shout out to Canada. Canada won. They took the gold. They were against actual France. And the gentleman that broke dance for France, he was a melanated person. The dude who won for Canada was an Asian person. Funniest thing in the world to me, but hey, dope. The thing with Rachael Gunn, aka B Girl Ray Gunn, is this is what I would do if I was going up there just to be funny. She danced like it was a parody of something, and I understand how some people thought, like, really, why is she even here? Because if you watch the actual gold medal competition, there is more passion, more in-depthness, there is more, I want to say, realistic skill involved and compared to what I seen B Girl Ray Gunn do. Because I looked at Ray Gunn, I was like, oh, if I wanted to be funny, I say, hey, look, I'm breakdancing. She did everything that I think I would do. Kangaroo hops, all that shit. I'm like, because it's just funny. But sadly, there's a part of me to think that she was actually serious though. And
Oh, there's
that's
no
the
doubt
part that kind of,
she was. All right, so let me give you some background about her. So Ray Gunn, real name Rachael Gunn, instantly became a viral sensation notoriety that only skyrocketed when the public learned that Gunn, who won none of her Olympics battles, actually has a PhD in breakdancing.
Keep in mind, she is from Australia. Keep in mind she is from Australia. And look, I'm a hip hop head to the fullest. I love that the culture, breaking, DJing, graffiti, MCing, the 5 elements of hip hop are everywhere in the world. I love it. But I also, the way I look at it sometimes is, yeah, y'all doing it, but it isn't close to the authentic thing because y'all don't even have an authentic representation to really go off of. Y'all are just imitating what y'all think it's going to be.
That is a great observation, Kenny.
But there's
that
no
is
one there to tell
absolutely
them.
True.
Because sadly, in my mind too, I think in her mind, she is breakdancing. She is literally breakdancing. She's doing what she saw. The problem is that it looks cartoony.
It is cartoony.
That's the issue that I would have.
She did a kangaroo hop. At least she made it Australian.
Yes, but that's originality. I can respect that. I can respect that. You're Aussie, you Australian, you do the kangaroo hop on it. Hey, respect it. Original dance move, original move. But everything else is kind of like, I know you've seen them do the same move. How come you don't do it with the precision? But there's no one there to say, hey, no, you actually got to tuck your elbow in, put your head completely down, do the spin, you got to hit a 360. It's just like, no, I'm doing the best I can, but it's like you don't practice in it. But then the part that you just told me that I did not know, he has a PhD in breakdancing.
He has a PhD in breakdancing, son.
So
she's had to have seen Breaking 1 and Breaking 2, and she has had to have talked about it in her class, meaning she has seen maybe the second top most important representation of breaking.
But then he is from Australia. This is kind of a point that me and you always have a disagreement on, but it's funny to me. So the value for her to achieve a PhD in something in her country does not correlate properly to an actual realistic, authentic evidence of the thing.
Hold up.
She had to go to America.
Let me elucidate on that part right there. So let me try to imagine a way for her to have done that. Let's say in the real world, for her to get that degree, she's had to go and meditate in the cocoon for which breaking came from. My only question to you would be, where would that cocoon exist? Where's that cocoon at?
That's easy. You go to New York, you talk to Crazy Legs, one of the most prolific breakdancers. You actually go talk to all the OG B-boys in New York, the people that used to bring out the tile and all this stuff. Some of the people still exist. Some of the people are actually still alive.
Yep, they do.
You go there. So my question would be, hey, let me see your PhD. Does it say you ever did, off campus?
You're right. I'll give you that. No. Actually, you can kill it right there. You just made a very good argument. That's what I wanted for why this is not good enough. Her PhD is not good enough. Because you're right. For you to say that you are a doctorate level of intellect on the experience. So when you talk about PhD, when you're talking about like a bachelor's degree, you're familiar with the subject. You're not an expert in the subject. Get a master's degree, you are, and we will say you are an intermediate expert on the subject. You have dug deeper and you've written a paper on the subject. But a PhD is a paper and I did it. Like I went and I meditated in it. I taught to the experts. I was taught by the masters. This is where my master's level is. I have hands-on with some of the best representation of the art. And she didn't do that. So her PhD is bullshit. And you've made it bullshit. I appreciate that you elucidated. And when I asked you had a really clear way to how to shape that. And I think you're absolutely right.
This still plays in the same thing because this also plays into how I was in my medical field. There's one thing that people know something from the books and stuff
Yep.
and can just recite it, and another thing to actually do it and perform it. Oh, she has a PhD. If anything, you probably could ask her a bunch of history and then she can just recite it off, but she cannot perform it.
Yeah.
That's
And
also the part.
breaking is the ability to explain it and to do it. It encompasses an entire experience. I mean, the only part that she would never be able to engage with as a white woman is the what it is to be black and have that black experience shape your breaking. Because a lot of those guys were that was like a representation of their hope, their pain, and all the experiences as a black person at that time. So she can't get to that level of deepness with crazy legs, but she could become elucidated by that experience and engage with the truth of that
She
maybe.
look, simply put, she missed the mark. She
Yeah,
missed the mark with she missed the mark with all the ammo she had. She had all this ammo and she still missed the mark.
I agree.
That that's what I will say on that one.
And with that said, we transition to Happy Gilmore 2 without him. I think he passed away, didn't he?
Yes, he did pass away. But yeah, it was just something that I threw on just to make sure. So Happy Gilmore, if you ever remember Adam Sandler, he's very funny. Came from Saturday Night Live. We had just talked about Saturday Night Live, the behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
movie that they're coming out with. But apparently they're doing a Happy Gilmore 2. They're doing a casting call in New Jersey. So if you want to be in the movie Happy Gilmore 2 and you live in the tri-state area up by New Jersey, you can go there. It is going to be Tuesday, August 20th at 1 p.m. at 3 Speedwell Ave, Morristown. Happy Gilmore is one of my more favorite Adam Sandler movies because it was just stupidly funny, hilariously funny. How you go from being a hockey player because you suck, then just because you can hit a ball really hard and far, you end up being a golf player, but you still want to use your hockey stick, and then you got to get a. And this also plays into the thing of the magical black person too, that
Yeah.
has to teach you how to actually do something because they are actually good at it, but they never really have the full opportunity to do it. So, but it was one of those movies that I used to laugh at because it was just so outrageous, so crazy. And the way Adam Sandler does his shtick of who he is, it's always been funny to me. And I've always loved it. But I just want to put that on. So Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out. And they're
Cool.
having a casting call in Jersey.
And now we have to talk about um, BeatKing's death.
All right. This is breaking news. The reason that this is on, and it's sad news, I get receive a very unorthodox, no, I don't want to say unorthodox, a very weird text from my brother.
Mm-hmm.
One, he asked me about this whiskey that he left here, and then he said, "Don't drink it," and then he said, "R.I.P." And then I said, "What?" And then he sent me a music video, and then it was BeatKing. And I was like, don't drink the whiskey because it kills somebody? Explain. So then I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. I had to call him. He was actually playing video games with his friends online.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he explained to me, no, they're separate texts. I just wanted to tell you some information real quick. So the first text was just about the whiskey. He had left a bottle of whiskey here. I don't drink whiskey. It really makes me sick. It's still here. He was just like, don't drink it. Cool. But then he was saying, "Oh, did you hear? Unfortunately, BeatKing. BeatKing's real name is Justin Riley. He was a producer and rapper from Houston, Texas. Unfortunately, he just passed away, and they say due to a pulmonary embolism. So this is breaking news. I think it just happened overnight. His publicist came out with information that said that if you are a person of the party club going scene, and especially this past probably like since 2020 till now, you've heard some of his song, Throw That,
Hmm.
Thick, and all those things. So RIP, rest in peace, and condolences to his family, Justin Riley. So
Damn, that sucks, man. You know, that's the one thing I was always fearful of when I had patients that had like sucking chest wounds and stuff like that
mhm.
was embolism. The one thing I cannot stop, like you can put
Yeah,
them on certain blood thinners, you can put them on, you can try different things, but you're just shooting in the motherfucking dark when it comes
yeah,
to embolism. I literally had a patient pass away from a broken arm, cast it, we casted his
mm,
arm, and he had an embolism. You just can't, like, that shocked the shit out of me. I think that's what made me more scared of every time I had a patient that had something, open vessels, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would always worry about an embolism. You could save the person's life, and then this quiet killer takes your patient
Yeah,
out.
I mean, you 100% true, 100% correct. It could be from anything, and that's why I'm big on making sure. Look, hey, my I don't know if I'm gonna say this. I have a family member that anytime I communicate with them, they are basically always in the same place, and I'm like, get your ass up, go for a walk, do something.
Oh
Every
yeah,
time, every time I communicate with you, you are literally in the same position, same place. Don't do that. You need to get up, move around,
move.
because it's one thing to have a pulmonary embolism. It's another thing to have, a coronary embolism. It's another thing to get a blood clot, which is the same thing as an embolism, but because you're not moving around, you're not
Yep.
getting your calf muscles flexed, you're not flexing your thighs. If you are literally in that same position, no, get up, walk around. That's information. And the thing, there's still more information to come out in regards to BeatKing, but I know he was very much on the road doing shows, all those things. So I don't know if there was anything more that happened, that something, impact injury or anything else that went on that caused this. But it's just a crazy thing. But no, I would
Yeah,
say
to get a
that,
pulmonary embolism, something happened.
and I
It's
would assume.
rare. I don't know if I've ever heard of a pulmonary embolism where it didn't have a component to either an injury or a medical procedure, or even though it's rare, I've never heard of it happening. I mean,
And
personally, in my
that's the
circle,
thing that I would
where
say,
it's
because
like intravenous embolisms. I've seen air get in there, and it would just cause subcutaneous emphysema, but I've never seen it get to the point where it's infiltrating, you know, the body further up from where the area for which the embolism was occurred, right? So, but it's possible. But I've never heard of one
and the
happening
only thing
just
I would
like.
say,
Go ahead.
oh, the only thing I would say is his stage presence performance was very much like Lil Jon is. If you ever seen Lil Jon performance, is very much jumping around the stage, amping the crowd up, and all those things. Which I don't know if maybe he did something and something happened and he just kept on performing, and then he got done with the show that night, went back to his house, home, hotel, or whatever, and then just unfortunately whatever trauma that he occurred, he did not get it addressed at the time. And I will add this in real quick too. It also makes me think of who just came out, Aerosmith. Uh, what's Tyler? Tyler, what's his name from Aerosmith?
Uh,
He Richard Tyler.
Richard, no, is it Richard Tyler? Something Tyler. I can't
But I
remember. I
know
know
the
you're
dude
talking
from
about.
Aerosmith. They were basically on their farewell tour, and I think they only got like 3 shows out. But he was singing, and if you know him, Michael Tyler, I think it's Michael Tyler
Michael,
actually.
yes, something like that.
He sings extremely vocally loud, but he basically tore his voice box, and they had to. But he went on with the show, but people knew something was off. But after that show, they had to make the announcement that they would no longer be able to finish out their farewell tour. He was giving it his all. He did rupture his vocal cords. There was blood, but he went on with the show. But unfortunately, those are one of the things. So I just want to say,
God
like,
damn, dude. You know how fucking hard you have to be singing to rupture. Well, he's done
that
it
was
for so
his.
many years too. So I don't know if I mean those tissues definitely don't have the rigidity as they do when you're in your 20s. So I mean,
Mhm.
all these years of singing, probably the stress and the fact that he's singing at the same level he was when he was 20, when he's in his he's got to be near 80.
Yeah, he's old, but yeah, it was one of those things that he still tried to push through with the show. So I would just end this with, I appreciate performers that
Man, I'm
perform,
gonna
give
look him
art.
up, and I'm
Give,
gonna be mad if I look him up and he's like 50.
no, he's old. He's old. I think it's Michael Tyler. He's old though. But no, but he sings. I mean, if you've heard him, because you people know Aerosmith songs,
Yeah, they
he
know him.
sings, he bolts out stuff, and unfortunately, that's what happened. But I just want to say, like, performers, I, I don't know if any of y'all watch this or come across this video, but take care of yourself. I mean, I love to be entertained.
Yeah, you're
I
too
love
young. He was
music.
too young to pass away.
Oh, he was 39.
Yeah, way
BeatKing
too
was
young.
39. So, yeah. All right.
All right, with
Anything
that
else?
said, we want to thank everybody who came to the show. Like, share, subscribe. And with that said, Kenny, we'll see you guys on Tuesday or maybe
Tuesday.
Monday when I drop the show.
Okay.
With that said, Kenny, you want to take us out?
Sure. Shout out to anybody that watched over on Kick, anybody that watched over on Twitch, and anybody that watched over on Facebook. As usual, our home base is YouTube. This is our other channel. This is Dianoia Stirring It Up. Please, if you watched on the other platforms, come over to YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us a like, post a comment. All the engagement really, really helps. We're trying to get this one up, off and running too. This is the more of the pop culture, current events, things that are happening, less of the politics show that we do. But if you are super interested and like to participate and care about things that are happening in the political world or current events or things you need to know, your people need to know, your family need to know, then that is the show that we do typically on Tuesday. That is Dianoia Live. We go live 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 Pacific Time. Yeah, but by all means, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, leave a like, follow us on all platforms. But if anything, come over to YouTube and give us a follow over there.
With that said, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.